Hey there, in this video I'm going to talk about how to magnetise some weapon options for the Tyranid Tyrant Guard. It might not be too clear at the moment, but this is the torso piece. I'm kind of in the middle of just building it all out, and it's at this stage when it's best to magnetise the arms. So as you can see here are all the weapon options. There's the Scything Talons, there is the Bonesward and Lashwhip, and then there is the Crushing Claws. All three are potentially great options, and as I've not actually played it yet, I'm not sure which is the best option. I've already done one set of three and I just glued in the Crushing Claws because I really like the look of them, but for my next set of three I wasn't actually too sure which options I wanted to go for. So to give me the flexibility, I decided to magnetise all the weapon options in. So the Crushing Claws themselves are all one solid piece of plastic. However, for these other options, they come in two parts. So it's the arm section here, and then there is the weapon hand section, which is this bit. So that bit needs gluing together. Same for all of these. And actually in this kit, you only get one set of left and right arms, and you have to choose between either the Bonesword and Lashwhip or the Talon. Because I've bought extra sets, I've actually got extra arms from my bits kit, so I've repurposed them for this guy. Originally I was thinking about magnetising this hand join here, however I think that gets a bit fiddly, so if you've got the extra arms that's even better. As you can see, I've already jeweled and mounted my magnets for both the left and right arm. The bottom arm socket is for the rending claws, so you don't need to magnetise these ones. For the weapon options, I've already done the arms, just mounting a magnet in, sort of keeping it as flush as possible to the side of the arm. Now let me just show you how these look. So that's the first option with the Bonesword and Whiplash. That's the second option with the Scything Talons. And then lastly, you've got the Crushing Claws. Now the magnets are even strong enough at the moment to hold the body just from the arm itself. However, once that's fully built, I wouldn't have thought you'd be able to lift up the model from the arms because the strength of the magnet isn't that strong. So you just need to be careful that when you're picking up the model, you're picking it up from the torso itself. Now I'm going to show you how I achieved that. You'll need your Tyrant Guard torso. It comes with some extra armour panelling. While it is a little bit fiddly in terms of trying to drill that hole with this arm panelling in, I would definitely keep it in, because when you're trying to position the arms, it's good to know where this is going to be, because you don't want to position the arm and magnetise it in such a way where it's going to be hitting against this once you've glued that in. So definitely make sure you've got the armour plating added on already. You also need your two Crushing Claws, your Whiplash and Bonesword, and your Scything Talons. As I already mentioned earlier, I've already glued the weapon options to the arms for these two lots, and I've also done the usual thing of cleaning up all the mould lines. So the first section is choose which weapons that you want to do. Let's concentrate on the Scything Talons first. What you'll want to do is just do an initial guide of where you'll want to place it. Make sure your arms are also the right way around. So an easy way to tell is where you've got this little bit of skin poking out here. That extra detail appears on the outside, so you know this is for the right arm going on there. So when I say right, I also mean the model's right rather than my right. And then you can also see this tends to be the join socket here, so it tends to join in there. But what you can do is position it in different ways, so you just got to roughly work out where you want it to go. You'll also need a set of magnets. Some of these have seen better days, however these are 3mm across all the way and 1mm in depth. So that is a perfect size just to fit on the arm. As you can see here, it just fits in nice and snugly. You'll also need a pin drill. You'll need two different drills. One will be quite small. This can be your pilot hole. So that's just when you drill in an initial hole, which will be guiding your main drill in. And then you need your other drill, which is obviously much larger. So this one is 3 centimeters across because it needs to be the same diameter as the magnets themselves. So as you can see, they line up almost exactly. Now, if you're out ever so slightly, it doesn't matter too much. However, if you're a millimeter too big or too small, then the magnet is either going to be too loose or it won't fit in, and it'll be really hard to get it to work. So make sure you try and match it up as exactly as possible. You can just visually line it up like that just to make sure. Always handy. Okay, so the first thing to do is to drill the 2 pilot holes in both the arms. So for these magnets, we know they need to go pretty much straight in and flush with the model, and then when we want to position the arms, we can sort of tweak the magnet setting on the arm itself. So in terms of drilling the pilot hole, we just need to go down just a couple of millimeters. That's probably more than enough. What you might find is if you go too far, you'll start to pierce through this section of the plastic. So make sure you don't do that. Then you've got your main drill. The pilot drill will just sort of help you guide that in. And as you can see, you're going to encounter a bit of difficulty with this top bit of plating because you're going to catch against it slightly. But that's a good general guide that you know that you've got it lined up almost as close to a 90 degree as possible. So be careful, because with these drills, especially if they're sharp, what you can do is you can catch the plastic, and too much plastic, you'll effectively like dig in and you'll kind of make it more difficult for you to drill. So you can see there, I've gone down a little bit. Let's just do a bit more. Okay, just a bit of a blow. Unfortunately, the lighting isn't too good. What you can do is I've got my row of magnets. I can just place it in, make sure it fits quite snugly, make sure that end magnet sort of disappears into the hole, which it looks like it does. So I just need to repeat for the other side. So again, do your pilot hole. This just helps guide in the main drill, makes it a little bit easier for you. Stops you from going off at crazy angle. You also need to be careful to not drill down too far, because what will then happen is you'll lose your contact point between the join of the arm of the 2 magnets. So you just need to make sure you go down effectively. You just want to go down 1 millimeter, because that's all that is in depth. And as you can see slightly, I've pierced through the other side, which is a bit of a pain, but it does mean it fits in okay. Right, now let's get these magnets glued into here. Now I just need to use 1 magnet each. Now, as I've already done a previous torso, what I need to make sure is the polarity of the magnets that I'm mounting in on this torso matches the same as this, so all the arms effectively are compatible between all 3 torsos. The best way to do that is just to make sure the magnet sticks to this. This one doesn't. If I turn it around so it sticks in. So that way it means I now know that this magnet needs to go in this way. So it's always best to make sure you've checked that, otherwise you're going to have arms and bodies that aren't compatible with each other. So let's put that to one side for a second. Let's get my trusty super glue out. So I'm using the GW super glue at the moment. Let's just double check that fits in okay. What you want to do is just put enough glue that you're going to glue one of the magnets and not accidentally glue 2 or 3 of the magnets in there. So let's just squeeze on that. Let's hope I'm not running out of glue. I think that's enough. The best thing to do is to use a stack of magnets. That way it's a lot easier to handle. Trying to use one magnet at a time is quite fiddly. Okay, that seems in there. What I'm just going to do is then break off the stack slightly and let that dry. Once it's dry, I can then have a slightly trickier task of breaking off all of these other magnets. While that one's drying, let's do the other side. So again, don't forget to check the polarity of the magnets just to make sure you got it the right way around, like so. Perfect. So I just had to change glue tubs, so as you can see, I've got quite a big dollop going in there. Let's cap that off. Now I've already checked the polarity, so I know this is the right end. Squeeze as hard as you can to push it down. Okay, now I've got my 2 lots of magnets. Now they should have probably dried in a little bit. Let's try and pry this one out. It's going to be a little bit of a fiddly task. The best bet is to put off a few initially and use your trusty knife to dig out a few. Try and get the magnet underneath, and that way you can lift it off like so and attach it to your stack of magnets. Now it looks like I've got one more in there that I need to get out. As I expected, I might have glued this one in. This one will be slightly trickier. Just try and get that blade in. There we go. Okay. Now, that's probably not in as flush as I would have liked. You can see it's slightly out, but I think that will do. Let's see how this one looks. Okay. Just use my drill end just to push them both in, make sure they're in as well as I can get them. Okay. What you could always do is, if you're worried about them coming out at any point, just add another dollop of glue onto each one. That will help seal it in. I think these are going to be okay though. So get the first lot of weapon options that you want to use. So let's do the Scything Talons. This one is the left hand side. Then you can work out what kind of pose that you want to do. Do you want your talons rearing up? Do you want them down? Do you want them out to a really extreme side? Let's just go for sort of an out pose here. So I want it sort of lined up around there with the contact point. So that means I need to drill my hole in around there. So let's do that. Let's just use the pilot as an initial guide. Because often when you're trying to drill, especially at this angle, it's a little bit fiddly, especially if you're trying to do it with the big magnet. The pilot makes it a lot easier. So again, I've drilled it just a little bit down on the pilot, that way I can check where this is going to be. So that's going to go in like that. So that's pretty reasonable, I think. Let's just carry on with the pilot a little bit more. So just looking at the bigger drill for a second, you've got the point and the sides, that's at least a millimetre, if not maybe 2, just to get down to get the sides correct. So you've actually then got to go another millimetre down. So it's potentially 2 to 3 millimetres that you actually need to drill in from that point tip. So again, using my pilot hole as the guide, it just makes it a lot easier. Now what you need to do with this one is actually make sure you don't go too far down. So I've already got to the hole, but will the magnet fit in? No, as you can see, it doesn't even come close to fitting in. So just keep drilling and checking, because what you really don't want to do is go too far down and the magnet will be recessed. So again, the same issue with the arm sockets is if the magnet is too far back, the two magnets together, one on the arm, one on the torso, won't join. So you can see it's almost in, but it's still sticking out ever so slightly. So let's go in a bit further. Let's check again. There, that sort of fits in perfectly flush. What you're best off is actually to do all the arm sockets together, so then you're gluing all the magnets all at one time. Just means you're not swapping back and forth between two different jobs. So let's do its right arm now. So again, you just got to work out where you want that contact point for how you want to position it. If you want to go really far in, you'll be doing the point sort of 90 degrees this way in. If you want it to be really far out, you'll be drilling your magnet in sort of pretty much that way. So you do get some flexibility even with magnetizing how you're going to pose these, so they're not all generic and quite similar. So I think something like that is quite decent. See where that is. Okay. So again, start off with the pilot hole. So again, just do a tiny amount on the pilot hole just to check where that is going to go. Okay, I think that's fine. And carry on drilling that pilot hole down a couple of millimeters. Then you can flick it out to your main drill. And this time, remember, a few millimeters in. Constantly checking which way. So I can see from that, while the point has gone in, I've not yet reached the sides. Okay, let's keep going. Nope, still got a way to go. One of the issues that you might have that I seem to be having this time is as I'm drilling down, I'm kind of destroying the sides as well. And that's because there's not much in the way of wiggle room, basically, between the sides of the arm itself and the size of the magnet and therefore the drill. So trying to place this might be a bit fiddly on this one. And again, because I seem to have lost my pilot drill, that's going to cause me some issues. So, because obviously it's starting to slip around slightly. So let's drill a bit more of a hole here. And let's try and carefully drill. Let's drill down in that direction. Okay. Let's see. It's almost there. What I might have to do is I can either keep that angle like that, but really it needs to be more like at this angle. So I just need to drill in this top section here slightly. What I might have to do is do a bit of reconstructive surgery and that green stuff, a little bit of the arm, just to rebuild the bit that I've lost. Okay. Yeah, because really I've lost a whole bit of a stub, so I assume it's going to be like that. So originally, because I've lost quite a bit of a stub in the way it's been drilled, rather than it being out here like this, it's going to have to be bent around to be more like that, which I suppose it still works. I think that's fine. I just might need to, once I've glued in a magnet, just do a little bit of green stuffing just to make up for the arm, a little bit of the arm that I've lost. Now I'll try and speed it up just so you can see me do the other two sets of arms. So that's my weapon options all drilled out. It was a little bit fiddly on a couple of them, but overall I think it will be fine. So the next step is to choose which weapons you want to do. Again, let's do the Scything Talons first. First thing to do is to get the parity right of the weapons. So when it's sticking in this way, you know that you actually need to be putting this magnet in this way into the arm like so. That way effectively the parity will be all correct. So I can put this to one side, and now I no need to go in this direction. This was the fiddly one where the arm had slightly broken away, so I just need to be careful with how I want to mount that. Realistically, it needs to be something like that. So get your super glue. I might go a little bit heavy on it this time. Let's place it in like so. And then as I stick it in, just sort of slide and break away. That way you've broken the magnetic contact here, and you've got it in. So you can see it's sort of mounted in there. And just press it down. Now it's not the best on this one because this is where I messed up the drilling, but let's see how the others go. I'm going to let that one just dry as it is, and I think it will be fine. So an easy way to check the parity is once you've got an arm that's dry, you take one from another kit, you just need to make sure that the arms stick together. That way you know that this end is the one that's sticking into the arm. And just double check that it fits okay. Get your glue. Don't want to do too much because it will spill out. Like so. Because as you can see it's now gone over the other magnet. So let's carefully pull that apart. Stick that down. Give it a rub just to wipe off the excess. And look, as you can see, that one is perfectly flush, so that's a really good one. Now I'm just going to carry on and do this for the rest of the arms. So with this one, the magnets were slightly stuck together. Maybe that's not too bad. So a bit of a happy accident while gluing this one. I actually got two stuck in, but I think I actually lost quite a bit of the arm on this one. So if you see when I put them together, while it hangs over slightly to the side, it actually looks pretty good in terms of the contact points. So maybe that one's not too bad. And then I can just use some green stuff to hide that magnet, although it's not too visible even there. Let's see how all the others fit together. So with the Bonesaw and the Whiplash, that's the pose that I've ended up with. Now originally that isn't actually what I was going for with the Bonesaw, but it's a bit of a happy accident. So when it comes to opposing, sometimes it is sort of down to how you do the magnetizing, how the magnet fits. If you kind of mess it up slightly, then you're going to have to adjust to the pose that you originally wanted. Again, here is the pose for the Crushing Claws. So I think that one's not too bad. It was probably out a little bit further than I wanted. You always get the flexibility of sort of moving it up and down. So again, with this side, you can move that magnet up and down. And then with the Scything Talon, that's what you get. So it's not too bad. It isn't actually exactly how I originally wanted them. I sort of wanted this arm to be a little bit more high and out there, but I sort of accidentally lost a bit of yarn with some overzealous drilling. So again, that's something to note. Well, the arm positions aren't exactly how I planned out because of a little bit of a drilling mistake. Overall, they've turned out really well. And the fact that I now have the flexibility of having 3 different weapon options or lifesaver for me, it means I have a flexibility when I'm playing my games to swap out the weapons based on either my opponent or the mood that I'm playing or the type of list that I want to build. So all really good, positive things. Magnets are a real worthwhile choice. The strength of the magnets is pretty decent. Like I can sort of hold that and wobble it around. Once it's all fully based and stuff, like the strength of the magnets won't be enough to pick up the whole model, but they'll definitely be enough to stay in place during games. So magnetizing your units gives you a lot of flexibility and saves you up having to paint up additional units just to get those weapon options in. This technique can be applied on a lot of different models and even smaller ones. You just need to get the right kind of magnet size. I hope you guys have found this hands-on tutorial useful. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'll be doing a similar video pretty soon for my Tyrant Guard, where I've got the 2 different gun options. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and definitely hit that subscribe button if you want to see more of these videos. Until the next one, take care.